Huh. Well, I guess it's not here. Oh, hang on. Oh, what do we got here? All right. I guess we need to find out what's in this. Let's see what we have here. A little note here. Oh, look at that. We have a belt. I think this is just packing material. So I have a subscriber who sent me a belt. Said they couldn't find anybody locally to modify the length of it or to add some additional holes to it. So they've sent it to me to see if I can make it something they can use. And it looks like it's got a brass buckle on it. I'll need to find out if it's okay to buff that up to a nice finish on it. And it looks like I can take it apart here and shorten it on this end. It says it's 4 inches too long. So, all right, interesting. That looks like a fun project. So more to follow on that once I get a little bit of feedback from the customer. All right, cool. All right, so I've gotten feedback from the customer. He would like the buckle polished up. So we're going to get started. I'm going to remove the buckle from this end here. That should be fairly straightforward. The subscriber said it's his favorite belt. So we'll see if we can keep it that way as his favorite belt and obviously improve upon it. So first, let's take this thing over and see if we can polish it up and make it a little bit more pretty. This thing polished up a little bit. That's how we're starting off. right, so we get her polished up nice. Clean off some of the buffing compound that's on there. I think that'll make a pretty buckle into that. So we need to remove 4 inches from the length, and asked if I could put a couple extra holes in there. So that's not a problem. So to do that, I'm going to measure back 4 inches, and I'll put a mark here. That will be the new bend point for this, effectively removing 4 inches from the length. So the center of the bend is here. So I'm going to measure back 4 inches. Back to the center of that. It's going to be here. So that will be the center of the bend right here. So I need to find the center of the belt. And I'm going to make a slot for the buckle. And I'm going to center it on that fold back. That's quite a bit bigger hole than they had. I'll shorten that up to the 1.25 inches. It's a little smaller than I would typically use on my belts, but it'll work good. More closely replicates what was there before. All right. So now the belt will go like that, 4 inches shorter. All right, so now I need about 3.5 inches from the center of that. Is going to be the new ending spot for this belt. That is a little more than 1.25 inches. Squeeze it in 1.25 inches. 3.5. It's going to be the center of the holes there. Oh, sorry, 3.5 from there. All right, so it's going to be right at that hole. Okie dokie. So next, to replicate the stitching, we'll measure between those. We've got 1.25 inches between the stitch lines, and they start 3/4 inch from the bend back. It'll be right behind the hole there. So we're going to put the first line of stitches across here, and then 1.25 inches back from that here. Now I'm going to use my square to get a straight line across there. spacing on those holes is about the 4mm. So I think we'll go with 4mm. I'm not a big fan of going straight across there. That really tends to weaken that spot. I'm wondering if I should change. It kind of creates an area that you would say tear along here. Well, without really modifying it and going to Chicago screws, I don't really have a lot of choice. I'm going to go to the 5mm because it's less holes and it'll take away less from the integrity of the belt. There. Go across here. Do our bend back. Figure out where those holes go on the back side. That's a shame he didn't have a place closer to him to do the work. But we'll get her done. Get it sent back to him. And then that belt buckle, or the belt loop, will go right between those two. I think I'm going to trim off a little bit of this. We don't need that much space there. And it did have a straighter cut. Maybe I'll just rematch that shape there. Okay. I think we're ready to sew that back together. Yep, we're good to go. So let me move down here and we'll stitch this together. If you have problems with the threads not going through there, it helps to wax it, and then I'll pull the needle across the end of it that will flatten the thread out, make it easier to go through the eye of the needle. Okay. I feel bad I wasn't closer. I think the subscriber that sent this to me probably spent more time driving to the shipping point than I will spend fixing the belt. But hopefully it's what the individual's looking for. Kind of a challenge working here and trying to keep the view open for the camera. We're getting there. All melted together. Wouldn't be able to untie that if you wanted to. Put the loop back on here. Old stitch line, new stitch line. Didn't give myself enough room here. All right, let's take it back over to the table here. Got a little more work to do. So the gentleman asked me if I would add 2 or 3 extra holes. First, let's look at this. I think that looks pretty good. You tap those threads down a little bit here. All right. Let's measure it now. See what we ended up with. Oh yeah, looks good. So I'm going to add 2 holes smaller on here. And these holes are 1 inch apart. So I'm going to add 2 holes on here. And I'm just to keep it balanced, looking the same. Not saying you're going to get bigger. Just balance it out a little bit here with 1 up there. I don't know if you can see this or not, but up here where the belt hasn't stretched, this is one layer of leather. Up here where it hasn't stretched, it is, yeah, 1 5/16 inches. Down here where it's stretched, it's just short of 1.25 inches. So as the belt stretches, it obviously thins out. And that's what can happen sometimes on some of these single ply belts. It's a pretty decent thickness. I like the belt. It's, I measured a little while ago, but it's like a 10-ounce leather. So let's make those additional holes. And I'm going to go back through these other holes and just nip them a little bit here so they look consistent. We're about there. I hope he likes the belt. I am going to take the liberty to add my maker's mark to the belt, along with the company that had made it originally. I'm going to put it over the top of the old size. We will get this packaged up. I hope that the owner of the belt enjoys using it and that it fits better. Thanks again for following along. Have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe.